Good afternoon. I am Dr. Vernon Smith, Provost of the American Public University System. It is my great pleasure to serve as your Master of Ceremonies today. Welcome to the Class of 2018 Commencement Ceremony. Please remain standing as the national anthem is performed by Ms. Kimberly Crotty. Gentlemen, please remove your caps at this time. Thank you, Kimberly. The invocation will be delivered by our university chaplain, Dr. Cynthia Lindenmeyer.
I invite you into a space of prayer. Gracious Creator of us all, to everything a season, and the time now calls for celebration. And yet, as these before you celebrate graduation, remind us that our voyage of self-discovery ever continues. Remind us the ongoing journey of faith spans our entire lives. Remind us to learn from our failures, our struggles, our fears, to seek humility. Remind us to be ever grateful to those who helped us to achieve our academic goals. We pause as we name in our hearts loved ones whose encouragement sustained our academic adventure. May we understand, as we approach this stage and hear the names of our classmates, that we graduate not as individuals, but as a community of the American Military University and American Public University System. May you sail from this harbor strengthened to be who God created you to be. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain Lindenmeyer. You may be seated. I would like to introduce our distinguished colleagues on the platform. Please stand as I introduce you, and please hold your applause until the end. Starting at my immediate right, our president, Dr. Wallace Boston. Our commencement speaker, General Michael Hayden. Delivering our honors student address, Sandra LaRochelle. Chair of our Board of Trustees, General Alfred Gray. Chair of our Board of Directors, Major General Barbara Fast. University Chaplain, Dr. Cynthia Lindenmeyer. In our second row are members of our Board of Trustees and our Board of Directors. Serving on our Board of Trustees, Lieutenant General David Huntoon, Dr. Katie Marie, Dr. J.D. Polk, Member Emeritus Lieutenant General Richard Treffry, Member Emeritus Mr. Frank Ball. Serving on our Board of Directors, Ms. Jean Halley and Mr. Bill Robison. To my left on the podium, Dean of Academic Services and the School of Education, Dr. Conrad Lotze. Dean of the School of Arts and Humanities, Dr. Grace Glass. Dean of the School of Business, Dr. Chad Patrizzi. Dean of the School of Health Sciences, Dr. Brian Freeland. Dean of the School of Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math, Dr. Ahmed Nauman. Dean of the School of Security and Global Studies, Dr. Mark Riccardi. In the next row, Dean of Graduate Studies and Research, Dr. Jennifer Douglas. Dean of the Extension School, Dr. Grady Batchelor. Senior Vice President and Chief Operations Officer, Mr. Bob Gay. Executive Vice President and Chief Technology Officer, Mr. Patrick Dyberg. Vice President of Academic and Instructional Technology, Dr. Karen Serva. Vice President of Accreditation, Dr. Jennifer Helm. Our University Registrar, whose name appears on your diploma, Ms. Michelle Newman. And Chief of Staff and Mace Bearer, Dr. Gwen Hall. Program directors, faculty and staff seated on stage and in the audience, please rise and be recognized. Thank you for the great work you do in service of our students. You may be seated. Now, I would like to invite parents, spouses, loved ones, children, and friends of graduates to please rise. Graduates, please turn around and recognize those dear friends and family and thank them. To give our President's address, I am pleased to invite our President, Dr. Wallace Boston, to the podium. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in welcoming President Boston.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the American Public University System and its Board of Trustees, I extend a hearty welcome to the members of this year's graduating class and all of our honored guests. In January of 1993, American Military University accepted its first cohort of 18 students, all seeking a master's degree in military studies. The internet was in its infancy, so our first courses were delivered via UPS, FedEx, or the Postal Service to students with a box of materials including textbooks and syllabus, as well as instructions to call or email their professor once a week. If any of you are in that group, please don't let me know. Our courses fortunately evolved over the next 20 years as technology enabled the development of learning management systems for classroom content, broadband for faster internet connection, e-books, software simulations, etc. AMU evolved and expanded into APU as well and the American Public University System. We grew from 1 degree and 18 students to more than 100 degrees and more than 82,000 students. Today, more than 66,000 students are pursuing studies in over 70 undergraduate degree programs, ranging from the original military studies to psychology, space studies, homeland security, sports management, etc. Welcome, all of you, to membership in our Alumni Association, more than 75,000 strong. Those of you seated here represent 8,141 alumni who earned bachelor's and associate's degrees over the past 12 months. Your class is one of the largest group of graduating undergraduate students in our history. Clearly, your paths to complete your degrees differ from person to person, but in many cases, your drive and determination to complete your degree was boosted by the cooperation and understanding of your family, and we applaud them for their words of encouragement and assistance. The importance of education has skyrocketed over the past 100 years. As recently as 1905, when my grandfather, yes, I'm old, graduated from high school, only 6% of Americans earned a high school degree. Even fewer attended college, 2.7% in 1905, and then most just for a year. Earning a high school degree was a differentiator for my grandfather's generation. By the time my mother graduated from high school in 1948, a whopping 18% of Americans graduated from high school and 7% from college, increases of 300 and 200% in 43 years. By 2012, 88% of Americans had graduated from high school by the age of 25, and 30.9% had earned at least a bachelor's degree. Approximately 70% of high school graduates enrolled in college in the U.S. last fall, and approximately 60% of them are expected to eventually graduate. If those matriculation and graduation rates hold steady, that means eventually 39% of Americans will hold a college degree. Some people say that number's not high enough, and I happen to agree. In an era where the amount of content being published on the World Wide Web each year is equivalent to the content published by the New York Times over its entire history since the 1700s, those able to discern the good content from the bad content will be able to thrive at work and at home. At the same time, with technology making it easier to employ people wherever they live around the world, we are no longer competing with our countrymen for jobs, particularly those that pay for your knowledge and experience. Your choice of continuing and completing your education online enabled many of you to gain an education while working. It wasn't easy, but you made it. Whether you choose to continue with your studies or continue to acquire knowledge and your expertise through your career and other experiences, take advantage of your education. In their 2006 book, The Second Machine Age, MIT professors Eric Brynjolfsson and Andrew McAfee projected that the global computing power worldwide would double in the 24 months following their book's publication, but it would increase 1,000-fold over the next 24 years. Economically, people with more education and skills and experience will benefit far more than people with ordinary skills and experience. All of you have taken a big first step in positioning yourselves for the changes that will occur in a world where the pace and breadth of technology is exponentially increasing. I congratulate you, wish you the best of luck in all your future endeavors, and thank you for choosing us for your college education. Thank you.
Thank you, President Boston. We will now take a few moments to acknowledge graduates and faculty who were honored earlier for their academic and teaching excellence. Award recipients, please stand when your name is announced, and please hold your applause until all are recognized. The class of 2018 Academic Scholar Awards were presented to, from the School of Health Sciences, Mr. Henry Lara; from the School of Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math, Mr. Donovan Vatorella; from the School of Security and Global Studies, Ms. Jimena Duarte; you may be seated. At this time, we would like to honor and recognize our graduates who received academic honors and would ask you to please stand. If you received academic honors, you're out there. Congratulations on receiving this honor. Those of you, because of our special mission for this institution, that are currently serving or have served our country, would you please stand and be recognized? Graduates, you may be seated. I would now like to invite the recipients of the Outstanding Faculty Awards to stand when announced, and again, please hold your applause. The 2018 Excellence in Teaching and Learning Awards were presented to, from the School of Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math, Dr. Julie Thompson. The Graduate Excellence in Teaching Award was presented to Dr. Candace Wyatt. The Excellence in Teaching Gateway Courses Award was presented to Mr. Stephen Cook. The Outstanding New Faculty Member of the Year is Dr. Jessica Sapp. And the Outstanding Faculty Member for 2018 is Dr. Michael Pitaro. Congratulations. You may be seated. Today, we are honored to have General Michael Hayden as our commencement speaker. General Hayden has served his country for more than 40 years. First, in the United States Air Force. Then, as director of the Central Intelligence Agency and the National Security Agency, among other distinguished posts. General Hayden was our first Principal Deputy Director of National Intelligence and the highest-ranking military intelligence officer in the country. He is considered an expert in intelligence, cybersecurity, government surveillance, and geopolitics, and is a frequent commentator in our top publications on these matters. He is currently a principal at the Chertoff Group and a distinguished visiting professor at the George Mason University's Schar School of Policy and Government. In addition, this morning, General Hayden was awarded a doctorate in public service honoris causa. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming General Michael Hayden.
Thank you. Thanks. Thanks very much. Well, first of all, I really mean it. Thank you for inviting me to be part of your celebration. The faculty, the staff, the administration, the leadership of the university, and the students as well. And we've already noted the importance of all your family members and friends who are here supporting you. We're here to celebrate your accomplishments, but also this is an unusual graduating scenario, because as we just saw, so many of you have already experienced public service. And so I'd like to talk a little bit about how those two streams, right, your academic achievements that we'll mark and celebrate today, with your instincts for public service, how those two streams come together. And frankly, I don't think that reality, the academic achievement, the knowledge, the wisdom, and the trend to serve others has ever been more important than it is now. Now, I recognize this is an incredibly important personal moment for all of you and your families, and it represents perhaps a departure point for new horizons in your personal lives. But as the chaplain suggested, you're graduating as part of a larger community as well, and you're a part of a greater, larger whole. And I'd just like to talk to you a few minutes about what it is I think you, because of your tradition of service and your academic achievement, might be able to contribute to the larger American community. And what I'm going to use as my outline is just three, what I would call macro hinge points that exist today in our broader society, and suggest to you how the person you are and have become can help our nation, our society, deal with these fundamental changes. So the first one I begin with a story, actually. About 2 years ago, I drove up the Baltimore-Washington Parkway to Baltimore. The Republican members of Congress were having their traditional offsite. So all the members of the House and the Senate that are members of the Republican Party get together every winter trying to hammer out common party positions on core issues. And I was invited up there to be part of a panel on national security. And I'm really honored to be on the panel. Mike Chertoff, former Secretary of Homeland Security, Ray Odierno, who had just left being Chief of Staff of America's Army, Ryan Crocker, Ambassador Extraordinaire, whom we have sent to every troubled spot on earth, Kabul, Islamabad, Baghdad, to be our ambassador, myself, and Bob Kagan. Bob Kagan is a really highly regarded historian at the Brookings Institution downtown. So we're there. It's a 5-person panel. Any of you who watch CNN after 7 o'clock at night know that 5 people on a panel is far too many, right? You can't keep it under control. We're getting asked questions. We're going back and forth. And then all of a sudden, the members, the congressmen and senators, they start throwing questions at us, bypassing the moderator. And then it gets into a conversation, back and forth. Conversation is a generous word, all right? Going back and forth between the members. And it's getting a bit chaotic. And at which point, Kagan, who's the Brookings historian, kind of gets out of his chair, puts his arms out like he's making a religious proclamation. I imagine like Moses coming down from Sinai with tablets, and simply says, look, what's going on is the melting down of the post-World War II American liberal, Bretton Woods, World Bank, IMF world order. Get it? And I remember just sitting there on the panel thinking, boy, Bob, that is really good. And he's right. This is the broad, and I know many of you have come across this in your studies, this is the broad international structure that has stamped Made in America on it. It's the one we put together after World War II. It's guided, animated by American ideals, was supported by American diplomacy, and defended by American power. Jim Mattis, now Secretary of Defense, is famous for saying that the greatest contribution of the greatest generation was actually that world order, that system. But that system was built on a world that no longer exists. That system was built in the industrial linear age of the 1950s. And so the fundament underneath those institutions has shifted, and they're losing their relevance. There is a graceful, most of the time, degradation of how it is they manage, how it is their tools that people can use to keep the world prosperous and safe. By the way, I need to add, if we come back here in a couple of 100 years, and we're doing a history survey of those last 75 years, which I've said is largely an American product, we're going to get far more than a gentleman's C out of the course. We're going to get very good grades. Historians already can tell us that those 75 years have been the most peaceful, most productive, healthiest, most long-lived, best educated 75 years in the history of the human species. But it's going away. And now the global question, and here's the first hinge point, okay? The global question, well, let me make it more accurate. The question the globe is asking of us is, so where are the Americans on 2.0? What role do we Americans view to be appropriate in this international system that needs to be created now, given how active we were for the last one? That's the first hinge point. The second hinge point, again, something out there that needs to be understood and perhaps corrected, is a general movement of our society, not just ours, but we're talking about ours here today, a general movement in the direction of what's been called a post-truth culture. Now, post-truth was the Oxford Dictionary's word of the year for 2016. Right? And it's described as decision-making based less on facts and data, which fundamentally describes your academic life, okay? Decision-making based less on facts and data, and far more on emotion, feeling, preference, loyalty, tribe, grievance. In fact, there's a trend in our society that if you can make something popular or trending, that's good enough to justify action, rather than a disciplined approach to discover objective reality. There are a bunch of American institutions, one of which is yours, that are a bit under siege today because of this post-truth approach. Mine, the intelligence community, law enforcement, the courts, scholarship, science, and journalism. All of those feel a bit in the bunker in this new approach, because all of them, by the way, all of them can be wrong. Occasionally, some of them can even be corrupt. But fundamentally, they're about truth. Their only safe haven, their only reason to exist is that they pursue truth. And they are today more than a little bit under siege. Now, that basing action on objective reality, that's been the core of our civilization, Western civilization, since about the 17th century, since the age of the Enlightenment. And in that great age, Western man, Western civilization, of which we're all heirs, decided again to base what it is we do on evidence, experimentation, hypothesis, testing, observation, humility in the face of complexity as we move forward. Now, I mentioned those are the values of the Enlightenment, and I suggested they kind of guide all of Western civilization. But there's an important footnote here. The values of the Enlightenment, which I just described, are particularly critical for our society, because America's foundation documents, our Declaration of Independence, our Constitution, the Bill of Rights, were written by Americans who were were scholars of the Enlightenment. And so if we as a society move away from these truth-based Enlightenment values, it doesn't just affect our decision-making, it affects the core of who we might be. And that's the third hinge point, our definition of self. Who are we as a nation? Now, I've grown up in a world in which fundamentally I felt we were what was called a creedal nation. In other words, you get to be an American by believing in some things. It's not about blood and soil. It's about, I read the documents, I understand the documents, I believe in the documents, and then our belief is, okay, then you're one of us. I tell a story. When I was director of CIA, we have a lot of foreign counterparts, and I was on a visit here in America. I was escorting my Pakistani counterpart, a general officer named Ashfaq Kayani. General Kayani was head of ISI, which is roughly the Pakistani equivalent of CIA. We were in a small aircraft. We were coming in for a landing, and I turned to the general, who was sitting right across from me, and I said, General, you know, when I land in another country, and I look out the window, and we're below 5,000 feet, and like the houses and the trees are getting bigger. I look out, and I try to let the landscape wash over me. I let the landscape make an impression on me. I try to be a blank sheet, and just say, what is that scene telling me about this other country, this other society? And so I asked General Kayani, General, when you look out the window at my homeland, what comes to your mind? And he told me a story. He had actually gone to a military school in the United States called Command and General Staff College at Fort Leavenworth in Kansas. It had been decades before. But he told the story that when he was there, in a sense for recreation or break the monotony of study to better understand America, he and his wife would simply get in the car on a Saturday morning and drive off in a cardinal direction from Leavenworth and drive till they got tired seeing America, and then pull off at one of those ubiquitous clover leafs on our interstate system, pull into one of those motels, and he would have his wife wait in the car while he went into the motel, to make sure they had a room. And General Kiani related to me that when he went in there and spoke to the clerk behind the counter in Kansas or Missouri or Colorado, he was convinced that the clerk simply assumed that he was an American. That aspect of us that appeals to our better angels, the aspect that emphasizes inclusion and makes us a welcoming nation, that comes from our definition of self, and I'm just telling you, that's one of the 3 hinge points that now seems to be up there to be rediscussed and perhaps redecided. So you've got the meltdown of the international order. What role do we picture for ourselves? How do we handle a movement in our political culture that others have labeled as post-truth? And then what is our definition of self? So there's a lot going on. But let me end where I began, to congratulate you, because that's what today is all about. To congratulate you for your achievement, but also to remind you of your commitment to service and how those 2 streams coming together better prepare you to contribute to our national discussion with regard to these really important issues. Now, I was really impressed when everyone was asked who has served. Such a large group got up. So I think you're going to understand what I'm going to say next to close. I've been to a lot of promotions in my life to celebrate other folks being promoted. And I think if you've been to those kinds of events, you recall that the folks there would remind the promotees that the promotion wasn't just a recognition of or a reward for past performance. It was putting on the shoulders of the individuals who were being promoted, like you, putting on the shoulders of those individuals increased responsibility. That is my message to you. We need the help. Welcome aboard. Thank you very much.
General, thank you for your inspiring words. You have helped ensure that this is a special day for our graduates. On behalf of the class of 2018 and those here today, I would like to present you with a small token of our appreciation. Today, we honor the class of 2018's President's Award recipient and our student speaker. President Boston, I would like to invite you to the podium to introduce our student speaker.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. The President's Award for Outstanding Undergraduate Student of the Year goes to Ms. Sandra La Rochelle. Sandra completed her Bachelor of Arts in Management with a 4.0 GPA. She is a Marine veteran with 20 years of active duty military service. She retired as a first sergeant in 2016. During her service in the Marine Corps, Sandra served in the field of administration and completed 2 tours of drill instructor duty. Sandra served as a chief drill instructor, senior drill instructor, and drill instructor at the 4th Recruit Training Battalion located at Parris Island, South Carolina. Sandra was the first female class drill instructor with the Navy Officer Candidate School located in Newport, Rhode Island, and only the second female class drill instructor in the history of the Navy Officer Candidate School program. During her service with the Marine Corps, she also completed a joint service combat deployment at International Security Assistance Force headquarters located in Kabul, Afghanistan. Sandra is currently serving as a program support assistant for the Salisbury National Cemetery Complex, Department of Veteran Affairs, National Cemetery Administration. Sandra began working for the National Cemetery Administration in 2016 and independently oversees the burial and grounds maintenance operations for the New Bern, Raleigh, and Wilmington National Cemeteries, 3 of the 4 VA National Veteran Cemeteries located in the state of North Carolina. Sandra's outstanding professional contributions directly resulted in her organization receiving the National Cemetery Administration's Organizational Excellence Award in February 2018 for New Bern and Wilmington National Cemeteries. The Organizational Excellence Award is the National Cemetery Administration's top honor and is presented to the cemetery staff who exceed national, organizational, and customer service satisfaction performance levels. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Sandra La Rochelle.
Thank you, President Boston. How are we feeling today? President Boston, Provost Smith, Board of Trustees, American alumni, family and friends, distinguished guests, family and friends, those watching this ceremony live, and fellow graduates, both here and those who cannot be here, welcome. And thank you for attending today's commencement ceremony. I want to first start off by saying that I am extremely proud of each and every person that's graduating today. And I also want to say how profoundly honored I am to be selected to provide the student address today. Each graduate in this room has their own story and their journey of becoming a college graduate. For me, my story and my journey has taken a really long time. 24 years to be exact. I started taking college classes in 1994, and I stopped in 1996, because in May of 1996 is when I stood on the yellow footprints aboard Marine Corps Recruit Depot, Parris Island, South Carolina. And I have a special guest in the audience. My senior drill instructor, Dr. Annette Taylor, is actually in the audience. Upon my retirement in 2016, I was looking forward to a little bit of rest and relaxation, but I knew that it was time to stop procrastinating and just get this college degree done. 24 years is a long time, and I'm reminded of that fact quite often. In fact, you know it's been a long time in getting your college degree when you see your family, when you see your friends posting pictures online of their kids graduating college. And you knew them before they had kids. You also know it's been a long time in getting your college degree done when you call your dad to let him know that you've been accepted to graduate school with American Military University, of course. And then he tells you, I hope I live long enough to see you get your master's degree. Just a few days ago, we had an equally important graduation in our family. We celebrated the graduation of my 5-year-old daughter, Naomi, graduating from the pre-K program at Excel One Learning Center. Here's a picture of my daughter in her official graduation picture. I'm happy to report that she's continuing her education and will start kindergarten in the fall. I mention my daughter today because my daughter is the person that inspires me to be the best person I could possibly be every day. As a parent, we're constantly striving to inspire our kids to be good people and to achieve remarkable things. I do believe that our expectations of our kids are set by the example that we set both in our words and our actions. I tell everyone that my greatest hope for my daughter is that she understands the importance of kindness and treats everyone with dignity and respect, regardless of any differences that we may have. One of the greatest lessons of love and kindness comes from the late poet, Dr. Maya Angelou. One of my very favorite quotes by Dr. Angelou is, try to be a rainbow in someone's cloud. What does that mean? Be a rainbow in someone's cloud. To me, it means an act of kindness can mean the difference for someone. And the people that we interact with daily could be dealing with some challenging times and have some dark clouds in their life, just as we have dealt with dark clouds in our life. but I believe that it is our job to help people find that silver lining or be that silver lining for them. In my professional career as a program support assistant with the Department of Veteran Affairs, National Cemetery Administration, I work with grieving families during a very challenging time in their lives, the time in which they're grieving the loss of a loved one. In my job, I've witnessed several committal services, and I've seen a myriad variety of emotions at those ceremonies. I've seen emotions such as laughter, I've seen quiet reflection, and I've seen the ones where it is just filled with tears. And I think that I've learned so much about the importance of having a life well lived in my new job of dealing with death. I tell everyone that the greatest part of my job is being able to hear the stories of the veterans that we serve within the National Cemetery Administration, because their stories should be told, and their dedication and service to our nation is something that should never be forgotten. I want to share an inspiring story today with you about a 100-year-old veteran that we laid to rest earlier this year at the Raleigh National Cemetery. The story of Women's Army Corps veteran, Staff Sergeant Millie Dunn Vesey. Millie Dunn Vesey was born 31 January 1918 in Raleigh, North Carolina, one of 6 children, and named after her grandmother, Miss Millie Gunter Henry. In 1942, Miss Millie Dunn Vesey enlisted in the Women's Army Auxiliary Corps, later known as the Women's Army Corps. Here is a picture of Staff Sergeant Vesey in her military uniform. From 1942 to 1945, Miss Millie served in the Women's Army Corps, 6th 888th Central Postal Directory Battalion, better known as the 6888. After receiving overseas training, Millie and others from the 6888 embarked a ship from New York headed to London, England in February of 1945. The 6888 is our nation's first and only all-black, all-female military unit that served overseas during World War II. Here is a picture of the 6888. The 6888 was comprised of 800 female enlisted and 31 female officers, and it was led by their commanding officer, Major Charity Adams Early. The mission of the 6888 was to sort and process mail for all U.S. military personnel serving in the European Theater of Operation, and did so under the motto, "No mail, low morale." In the 1940s, there was no social media, there was no video chat, there was no Skype, and there were no cell phones. The mode of communication back in World War II were handwritten letters, and those letters are what helped connect those on the battlefield with their loved ones back home. The women of the 6888 worked tirelessly in 3 different 8-hour shifts, 7 days a week, handling and sorting an estimated 65,000 pieces of mail each shift to clear out a 6-month backlog. And the women of the 6888 cleared that backlog in 3 months. The 6888 was a segregated unit, and they lived and ate separately from their male and female counterparts. The 6888 was also not allowed to go in a local club established by the American Red Cross, a recreational facility built and designed for the use of enlisted male, female, and black male service members. In protest of this discrimination, the 6888 became self-sufficient and ran their own mess hall, hair salon, refreshment bar, and recreational facility. After victory was declared on May 8, 1945 in Europe, the women of the 6888 embarked a ship headed to France to continue their mail distribution role during the occupation of Allied forces. While in France, Miss Millie served in the billet of supply sergeant. In France, the women were housed in a very primitive barracks, and they had to sleep on beds made of straw until Ms. Stasser Vesey worked her supply magic and procured mattresses for everyone to sleep on, becoming a hero to her fellow service members. I think everyone in this room that knows supply or has been supplied understands the importance of supply. I love you all, supply. Later on in 1945, Miss Millie was selected by the Army to attend their officer candidate school, but declined, stating that she joined to serve during the war, and now that the war was over, she wanted to return to her friends and family back in Raleigh, North Carolina. When Miss Millie returned to Raleigh, she used her Montgomery GI benefit to complete her bachelor's degree in business administration at St. Augustine's College. She said that she took full advantage of the Montgomery GI benefit because without it, she would not have been able to afford to go to school. Education was very important to Miss Millie, and she went on to get her master's degree in business administration at North Carolina Central University. Miss Millie Dunn Vesey was remembered for her active involvement during the civil rights movement. Miss Millie believed that the people of color who fought and died for freedom in America's wars deserved to be treated equally. Miss Millie Dunn Vesey worked with key civil rights leaders such as Thurgood Marshall and Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. Miss Millie even sat next to and marched next to Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. during the 1963 March on Washington, where Dr. King delivered his I Have a Dream speech. In 1965, Miss Millie made history by becoming the first female president of the Raleigh-Wake County chapter of the NAACP. One of Miss Millie's greatest and proudest moments came when she personally hosted Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. at her sister's house for dinner when she arranged for him to come speak in Durham and Raleigh back in 1966. Miss Millie, having spent a lot of time with her grandparents, being named after her grandmother, said that her grandparents would have been pleased if they lived during the civil rights movement because both of her grandparents were born into slavery. In her lifetime, Miss Millie was an educator. She worked at St. Augustine's College. And after retirement, she became a Sunday school teacher and continued to have an active role in her community. Miss Millie continued her military service by also serving as the post adjutant for the American Legion, Post 157, from 1993 to 2013. In 2016, Miss Millie was invited to a veterans event in Fort Lee, Virginia, where she met and saluted President Barack Obama. Millie said that meeting and saluting Here's a picture of her saluting President Obama. Millie said that meeting and saluting President Obama at that event was one of the greatest moments of her life. Can you imagine what it was like for Miss Millie Dunn Vesey, having lived during segregation, becoming an advocate for equality, and living to see her advocacy provide people of all color the opportunity to succeed at the highest levels? I think it's just amazing. I am telling you this story today because it does directly tie into my education with AMU. In July of last year, I submitted a research paper entitled African Americans in the Military During World War II. One of the units I researched and wrote about was the 6888 Central Postal Directory Battalion. When Miss Millie's family called to make burial arrangements, they told me that their aunt served in our nation's only all-black, all-female unit. I told them that I knew all about the 6888. I told the family that we would do everything within our power to make sure Miss Millie was honored at the highest level for her service to our great nation. On March 19, 2018, Sasser Millie Dunvisi was laid to rest at the Raleigh National Cemetery. She received full military honors provided by the United States Army. And by my own request, my friend traveled with me to New Bern. She is a former Marine Corps band musician. Miss Al played live taps at Miss Millie's ceremony. Miss Millie's dedication to her country, her dedication to her education, and her community inspired me during my academic journey to be a lifelong learner. And I hope her story and my story inspire you too. In closing, fellow graduates, I encourage you to use the education you have received, your platform, your abilities, your connections, and your time and resources to be a rainbow in someone's cloud every day. And I promise you that nothing but good things will happen if you dedicate your life to serving others. Once again, congratulations to everyone graduating, and may God continue to bless you all. Thank you.
I think I'll just skip the script and say, Sandra, thank you for those most inspiring words. I am pleased and honored to present you with the Class of 2018 President's Award.
Thank you, Ms. La Rochelle, for your inspiring words. And thank you, President Boston. We would now like to take a moment to recognize those that could not be here with us today. This next presentation celebrates our virtual attendees. The first person to cross the stage will be a bachelor's degree candidate representing those who are participating virtually through our live webcast of today's ceremony. If you'll direct your attention to the screens, we have a short video presentation to celebrate this moment. Will the candidate in absentia please stand and come forward?
How's it going? I'm Chris Cavazos from Illinois, out here in Washington, D.C. I'm here graduating with my bachelor's in business. If you guys are wondering what this is a GoPro. I entered a contest to where I could walk across the stage and represent the student body for the people that can't be here. So that's what this is for. It's for you, and you guys can do the walk across the stage while you're doing this from home or wherever you are. So again, I'm very excited and proud to be here. I think I'm about set to cross the stage. So again, guys, congratulations. We've done it. We did it together, guys, and let's do this together.
I proudly present you the candidates for graduation in absentia. You represent your fellow graduates that could not make it here today. Congratulations to you all. Now it's the moment you've been waiting for. President Boston, I'm pleased to present to you the American Public University System Class of 2018 candidates. Bachelor's, associate degree candidates, please come forward by school to receive your diploma.
School of Arts and Humanities. Catherine Morrissey, North Carolina. Alexis Morley, North Carolina. Robin Denise Gray, Virginia. Kimberly Bentz, Colorado. Jenna Mock, Pennsylvania. Shayla Danae Coffey, Nevada. Olivia Ramsey, Maryland. Donna Bellat, U.S. Virgin Islands. Master Gunnery Sergeant Lamar Burris, North Carolina. Lucille Perkins Wagle, Florida. Shaniqua Coley, New York. Gregory Cottrere, Kentucky. Natori Miller, Florida. Rebecca Merriman, Virginia. Curtis Topping Jr., Pennsylvania. Denisha Maddox, Tennessee. Marlon Kahina, California. Dakota Riley Barton, Alaska. Desiree Warnes, Colorado. Jessica Smith, Washington. Wayland Lee, Texas. Lance Jermaine Smith, Georgia. Jacob Trait, Pennsylvania. Kylie Yorkdale, Virginia. Lori A. Banks, Maryland. Raymond Farmer, Maryland. Patrick Taylor, California. Haley S. Hayes, Pennsylvania. Alan William Harding, Pennsylvania. Daniel Torrio, South Carolina. Krista Bracey, Pennsylvania. Killian Landersman, Texas. Mark Searing, Virginia. Timothy Lighting, Virginia. Mary Davis, Virginia. Richard Keith Jennings, Virginia. Tila Brewer, Florida. Milburn Cornell Willis, Maryland. Robert William Stroh, Maryland. Christian Delgado Jensen, Florida. Joshua Mendez, Louisiana. Sierra Thais Riley, Louisiana. Michael Lowry, South Carolina. William Everidge, Ohio. Jessica Mears, Virginia. Herrick O. Higgins, West Virginia. Lori Emerson, North Carolina. Adriana Lordoui, Connecticut. Julianne Briault, Oklahoma. Chelsea Polanco, Texas. Lindsay Luca, Maryland. Courtney S.L. Barfield, Maryland. Fernando Ismael Boom, Arkansas. Raymond Pantaleo, North Carolina. Andrea Etheridge, Utah. Jessica T. Wilson, Colorado. Taisha Harrison, South Carolina. Cheryl Strickland Lewis, Washington. Crystal Som, Massachusetts. Melinda Diane Bright, Florida. Xenia Jacqueline Snyder, Michigan. Martell D. Colbert, Oklahoma. Dontario Santafel, Virginia. Elizabeth A. Poley, Maryland. Anthony Frank Pironi III, West Virginia. Allison Findley, Texas. Julia Weatherby, Utah. Sarah Marino, Maryland. Derek Lee, California. Christina Cloutier, South Dakota. Zakia Mitchell, Georgia. Elena Mercedes Morales, Virginia. Michael Mayer, Oregon. Kiana Hawkins, Mississippi. Ashley Lanice Proctor, California. Simone Ingram, Texas. Naila Dillard, Germany. Erica Kuzmar, Florida. Bryant Wall, Virginia. Angela Hodge, Virginia. Michelle Marie Chopin, Louisiana. Shannon Michelle Hairston, North Carolina. Andrea Espinoza, Illinois. Stephanie Diane Butcher, California. Shawana Frett, South Carolina. Jennifer LeBron, California. Ruth Jonas, Florida. Lindsay Black, Texas. Francis Eagletail Dupree, Colorado. Remar Alburo, Virginia. Latoya Bailey, Delaware. Anthony Benjamin, Florida. Jamie Bebley, Georgia. Susan Louise Kincaid, Florida. Joshua Emmanuel Banks Sr., Georgia. Andrea Elizabeth Ordonez Leyva, Virginia. Brittany Elizabeth Ashlock Newman, Texas. Javia Elmore, Florida. Cornell Lamont Redden, Maryland. Zuleika Herrera, New York. Christina Hodgson, North Carolina. Brian Francis, Louisiana. Eric Lee Mages, Ohio. William Wade Boker Jr., New York. Richard Glenn Carson, Georgia. Anita Enzolameso Bangudi, Tennessee. Charles Reginald Reeves Jr., Virginia. William Fernandez Jr., Michigan. Courtney DeLuca, Maryland. Donnie Seeley, Bahamas. James Cabarrus, Wakanda. Grace Corniel, New York. Dantrell Felicia Chaplin, South Carolina. Olivia Catherine McDonald, Massachusetts.
Gabrielle Raven Douglas. It's not on. The audio's not on. Gabrielle Raven Douglas, New Jersey. No sound. Gabrielle Raven Douglas, New Jersey. Stephen Aaron Davis, New Jersey. Richard Dorda, Puerto Rico. Christian Levesque, Virginia. Katina Carter, Illinois. Dan Simmons, Maryland. Charla Levon Carter, Texas. Brian Paulson, Washington. Vernice Dauphin, Georgia. Mary Beth Evans, Virginia. Kelly Marciano, Virginia. Roberto Rojas, New Jersey. Artemis Santos, Maryland. Jaspreet Shorday, Virginia. David Hines Jr., Washington. Sadie Fullerton Jackson, Michigan.
School of Business. Christopher Cavazos, Illinois. Randy Allen Breeden, Maryland. Nicholas Coward, Ohio. Kathleen Morgan, New Mexico. Madeline Nicole Nelson, Florida. Jennifer Gore, North Carolina. Julie Marie Reyes, Oregon. Nicole Cameron, New Mexico. Matthew Clark Neves, North Carolina. Jody Deerbeck, Ohio. James Henry Scott, North Carolina. Stephanie Aguirre Mejia, California. Mary Smith, Maryland. Deanna C. Walker, Virginia. Deb Armbruster, Ohio. Stephanie Dawn Leach, North Carolina. Nathaniel Meyer, Oregon. Robbie Blunt, Alabama. Royce Namakau Siloka Baker, Ohio. Shanita Dorsey, Georgia. Rhoda Sopropto, Maryland. Candace Adams, Maryland. Akia Delise Carter, Texas. Darling Leonardo Blevins, California. Antoinette Joy Fraser, New York. Leslie Bepriestis, Georgia. Deidre Garcia, Texas. Rebecca S. Banks, Virginia. Tamiel Smith, Georgia. Connell D. Gaskin, New York. Kevin D. Grant, Georgia. Iris Yvette Claros, Maryland. Reggie Leone, California. Vanessa Renee Michelle, Texas. Cortez Willis, Indiana. Tammy Wilborn Duncan, North Carolina. Remus Hines, Tennessee. Karsten Raphael Ferguson, Tennessee. Norma Plasencia, Illinois. James Stockwell, Virginia. Victor Mercedes, Florida. Melissa Denise Kavanaugh Griffin, Georgia. Jamie Cry, Louisiana. Jennifer Kinsey, Virginia. Anthony David Waters, Georgia. Roland Chambers Jr., South Carolina. Aaron Jimenez, North Carolina. Benjamin Stake, West Virginia. Betty Kelly, Virginia. Liberty Abadam Dolohan, Nevada. Betty West, California. David Michael Pope, Virginia. Rodolfo Vargas, New York. Wayne Henninger, Georgia. Julie Krim, Virginia. Tara Widener, Virginia. Christina Thomas, Maryland. Christian Oropeza, Virginia. Lidovina Trejo, Texas. Sandra La Rochelle, North Carolina. Sean Grimes, Maryland. Wayne Norman, New York. Erica Moore, Florida. Gladys Janine Pettit, Texas. Kelly Kirstings, California. Bridget A. Root, New Jersey. Jasmine Cordova, Virginia. Ivory Dantzler, Oklahoma. Teresa Michelle Adams, South Carolina. Lakeisha Denise Sanders Ivy, Virginia. Mark Anthony Logadice, Colorado. Stephanie Engler, Florida. Yolanda Horton, Oklahoma. Wanda Rochelle Gilbert, Maryland. Elijah Alcorn, North Carolina. Dimitric Lagrone, Mississippi. Jonathan Lamar Kimbrough, Mississippi. Floyd D. Bond, Virginia. Sarah Courtney Beecham, California. Jared Becker, Minnesota. Maurice A. Denzi Sr., Alabama. Megan Oliveri, Arizona. Tyke Brantley, Louisiana. Catherine Player Graham, Alabama. Caitlin Amanda Mattingly, Virginia. Louis Stump, Massachusetts. Francis Skip Tallman, Utah. Amy Taylor, New York. Dylan Rose Pruner, Alaska. Tamzin Van Hooser, Virginia. Christina Lynn Holland, Indiana. Mia Weiss, Iowa. Jason L. Langley, Florida. Nicholas Caello, New York. Linda Davis, Virginia. Dedrick Lamar Brooks, Texas. Jack Jones III, Virginia. Sharon Jones, Pennsylvania. Carmen Lachey Hickman, Georgia. Michelle J. Sharp, Virginia. Tony Potisan, Louisiana. Jonathan J. Mengarelli III, North Carolina. Jametric Bankston, Florida. Taylor Lauren Blakes, Virginia. Darren Lane, Virginia. Pedro Foster, Georgia. Robert Booty, Nevada. James W. Harper, West Virginia. Frederick Shepard, Tennessee. Julie K. Kenyon, South Carolina. Meredith Schaff Receiver, Pennsylvania. Rose O. Garcia Anderson, New York. Andre J. Chester, Texas. Sarah Marie Hart, Florida. Jeannie Miner, Texas. Deanna DiVincenzi, Virginia. Mildred Gilliard, Pennsylvania. Renee E. Gordon, Maryland. Catherine Ann Ashley, Virginia. Katie Keller, Pennsylvania. Robert Craighead, Virginia. Stephen Gray, North Carolina. Miguel Pomer, Texas. Melinda Michelle Riker, Texas. Amanda Sellers, Pennsylvania. Joey Figueroa, Ohio. Anne Marie Boatwright, Georgia. Barbara Pitt, Florida. Alicia Jill Watts, West Virginia. Nicholas Lee Watkins, Georgia. Christopher Kotke, New Mexico. Adolfo Rodriguez, District of Columbia. Crystal Delisa Scott, North Carolina. Felicia Murray, New Jersey. Frederick Joseph Levy III, Louisiana. Crystal Gorham, Maryland. Caroline S. Castillo, Pennsylvania. Chandler Shaw, Arkansas. Lisa Marie Womack, Maryland. Gary Dunham Giddings, Florida. Heath A. Smith, Florida. Heriberto Reyes, New York. Mark Morgan, Connecticut. Braylon Clifford, Pennsylvania. Jessica Thompson, Colorado. Edwin Oliver Bispat, Connecticut. Sabrina Brooks, Georgia. Sarita Leilani Wright, Georgia. Susan Lewis, Florida. Mark Palang, Georgia. Danielle Williams, Minnesota. Linnell M. Patterson, Oklahoma. Justin Levi Jones, Missouri. Julia Cohen, California. Victor Manuel Montanez, California.
Jason Omar Battles, Florida.
Alex Fiolka, Maryland. Tyrell J. Patton, Michigan. Latoya Burrows, New Jersey. Kristen Brooke Carnes Riley, North Carolina. Teresa Young O'Neill, Maryland. Ivy Marnay Watkins, Georgia. Frederick Galloway III, Texas. Donna Rose, Alabama. Warren Harrison III, Louisiana. Jared Politi, California. David Lewis Branning, Virginia. Tashina Fields, Georgia. Hope Watts, Virginia. Jordan Edward Baptist, Massachusetts. Alphen Conte, Georgia. Taylor Link, Georgia. Kevin Cook, Hawaii. Rashad Davis, Georgia. Mason Gales, Texas. Patricia Curry, North Carolina. Justin Jenkins, North Carolina. Levon Moore, Oklahoma. Gilberto Alexander Graham Saavedra, New York. Thomas Good, North Carolina. John Isaac Carrington Jr., Connecticut. Jesse Smith, Virginia. Grace Kingstad, Texas. Dwayne Paul Miller, Maryland. Charlie Collins, Texas. Patrick Dove, Texas. Mazama Adera, Togo. Rakeem Yarborough, North Carolina. James Clifton Cheney, Alabama. Rebecca Handy, Delaware. Antoine J. Williams, North Carolina. Walter Lee Wilson Jr., Colorado. Douglas Brian Maxwell, Arizona. Stephen Chappell, Alaska. Jessica Phillips, Pennsylvania. Melody Wanburuka, Maine. Ilinda Cliffina Johnson, Massachusetts. Tiffany Hall, South Carolina. Gabriel Hamilton, Virginia. Katie Abel, Maryland. Jamila Reyes, Washington. Cherokee Don Mosier, West Virginia. Mike Hurtado, New York. Sharima Pearson, Florida. Adam Reber, Virginia. Taryn Ann Olney, New York. Tamika Cox, Ohio. Christopher Erie Foster, Florida.
Crystal Worsley, Ohio. Yashana Young, New York. Carla Sneed, North Carolina. Kanisha Borden, Florida. Jason Rodacker, Florida. Daniel Bevan, Tennessee. Sean Greer, Arizona. Garrett Thomas Eddings, California. Jeffrey Lopez, West Virginia. Samuel Messenheimer, North Carolina. Christopher Lee Oliver, Florida. James Bovas, Florida. Jerry O'Donnell, New Jersey. Leisha McDaniel, West Virginia. Retired Sergeant Dogby Asuvu, Colorado. Trevor Reiser, Maryland. Kai Peters, Florida. Diana Hamburg, California. Tiffany Moore, Florida. Melissa Rooney, Virginia. Divine Paul, Texas. Tiffany Royer, Virginia. Prince Canoe, Texas.
School of Education. Arena Davis, Texas. Tori Bradley, North Carolina. Randy Page, Georgia. Chandra Barzy, New Jersey. Michelle Nicole Colson, Oklahoma. Sarah Lyons, Colorado. Shonda Rand, New York. Victoria Foster, Maryland. Rebecca Sward, Virginia. Brittany Nicole Summers, Virginia. Megan Johnston, Virginia. Claire Zaransky, Pennsylvania. Dorothea Busby, Illinois. Olivia Cowan, North Carolina. Lynette Demby, Maryland. Jimmy Townsend, Alabama. Marshalletta Champagne Wheeler, Louisiana. Harley Sparks, Louisiana. Lacey Emmeline Rundell Porter, Kansas. Vanessa Niles, Georgia. Ramisha Shante Jeans, Missouri. Justin Ramon, North Carolina. Erica Franklin, Pennsylvania. Dolores Ruggles, Missouri. Marengis Anakolova, New York. Shantae E. Ibim, Georgia.
Carlette Oswood, Ohio. Harin Olawal, Virginia. Jessica Joanne Carter, Texas.
School of Health Sciences. Kathleen Euland, Maryland. Amber Mary Barnett, Maryland. Michelle Goki Pelzinski, Pennsylvania. Erica Tate, Pennsylvania. Thomas Nagel, North Carolina. Alexandria Prescott, New York. Sharon Francis, New York. Esther King, West Virginia. Crystal Ann Dennison, Pennsylvania. Christine Wylicki, Ohio. Simone C., Georgia. Hector L. Morales Sr., Connecticut. Jennifer Maria Fuchs, Georgia. Tyra M. Durrett, Maryland. Kiana Danielle Miles, Virginia. Erica Lavalis, Maryland. Tiffany Nettles, District of Columbia. Andrew Jackson Jr., Florida. James Gregory Rickles, Alabama. Felicia Deskins, California. Vera Lynn Keener, Texas. Kimberly Strauff, Virginia. Andrea Mariah Logadice, Colorado. Demetris Aloyton, Utah. Rob Timmons, Pennsylvania. Matthew Warito, Arizona. Andrew Cagill, Texas. Landry T. Campbell, Texas. Jenny M. Ellis, Pennsylvania. Dorothy Jane Lewinsky, Virginia. Cheryl Moore, Illinois. Shannon Moore, Colorado. Tanya Fodderingham, Maryland. Jimmy Turner, Texas. Brittany Willard Martin, Georgia. Patrick Casey, California. Samantha Jane Young, Virginia. Jazetta Kibagik, New Jersey. Kayla Pearson, Florida. Jonathan Warren, Louisiana. Deidre Kirkland Turner, Florida. Selena Rigel, Washington. Suhaili Garcia Reese, Florida. Fred M. Stiles, Jr., Georgia. Luke Casper, Pennsylvania. James B. Daniels, Florida. Lauren Lee Hobson, Kentucky. Rylan Banks, Virginia. Christopher Daniel Weber, New York. Stephanie Hess, Pennsylvania. Jonathan Gilbert, South Carolina. Beverly Audrey Marks, Georgia. Latoya A. Pratt, Georgia. Kristen Gaither, Maryland.
Cameron Durham, Oklahoma. Crystal Griffin, Michigan. Benjamin Dale Parker, California. Maxime Quaib, Texas. Dewan Day, North Carolina. Janie Brooks II, Missouri. Jordan Evelyn Louise Vergang, Virginia. Brittany Ashanti Booth, North Carolina. Heather Ann Arundado, Michigan. Charlotte Jacobs, Georgia. Sean Shoemaker, New Jersey. Shaniqua Sanford, New York. Roberto Madrano Jr., Maryland.
School of Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. Joe Canada, Puerto Rico. Tyler Reynolds, California. Jacob Clausen, Oklahoma. Nicholas Scott Peterson, Texas. Hassan Namati, Utah. Shayna Thomas, Florida. Jonathan Dove, Virginia. Mark Vincent Farrell, Illinois. Alex Negron, Florida. Megan Nation, South Carolina. Marlo Edward Avery, Pennsylvania. Laura Pagano, Washington. Amy Rohr, Kentucky. Ann Idema, Maryland. Kirk Woody, Georgia. Natalie Chiesa, Pennsylvania. Matthew Fulling, North Carolina. Lori Ann Walsh, Florida. Chastity Holloman, Kentucky. Derek Jablonski, Michigan. Derek Jenkins, Virginia. Timothy A. Sando, New Mexico. Samantha Lethko, Tennessee. Joseph Samuel, South Carolina. Michael Taylor, North Carolina. Don Bartarella, Ohio. Danny Snyder, Delaware. Tracy Lynn Mosley, Virginia. Kendrick Leak, Texas. David Acevedo, New York. Archie Lauren Tabor, Georgia. Priscilla Hutchison, Virginia. Ashley Ricker, Pennsylvania. Amber Butner, Virginia. Matthew Troyer, Maryland. Nicasio Salazar, California. Jacqueline Monique Garcia, Texas. Jerry Antonio Cade, Georgia. Ryan Carton, Virginia. Kathleen Rowe, Michigan. Jeremy Lee Harpold, Iowa. Saquon Hughes, U.S. Virgin Islands. Anson Bollinger, Oregon. Warren Brown, Maryland. Brandon Coles, West Virginia. Joshua Baker, Georgia. Nathan Faber, Ohio. Donovan Harris, District of Columbia. Andrew Perrell, Maryland. Sean Augustine, North Carolina. Jonathan Baldwin, Virginia. William Newton Christ, Maryland. William Jansen, Virginia. Jonathan Smith, Virginia. Eric Jackson, South Carolina. Jessica Cahey, Texas. Todd Lincoln, Indiana. Jessica Dooley, North Carolina. Donnie Gonzalez Torres, Texas. Meshach Adu Okai, Texas. Muller Malonda, Kentucky. Louisa Flores Nordman, North Carolina. Andres Martinez Martinez, South Carolina. Roderick Simister, Florida. Jarvis Pearson, Oklahoma. Robin Kelsick, U.S. Virgin Islands. John D. Smith, New York. Jackie Santiago, Florida. James Finch, Maryland. Heather Thomas, Maryland. Joseph Patrick Grogan, Virginia. Keith Jones, Texas. Trevor Wallace Whittington, West Virginia. Richard Hudkins, Maryland. Seth Morgan, South Carolina. Mr. Soladine Muhammad, Massachusetts. Kenyelle Parker, Alabama. Laura Mboma, Virginia. Brian Thomas Rogers, Virginia. Michael Buwalda, Michigan. Michael Forna, Virginia. Kevin Gay, Pennsylvania. Derek Thomas, Colorado. Pradeep Hayu, Virginia. John Eris Stevenson, California. Rachel Klingensmith, Florida. Brianne Butler, Michigan. Lisa Marie Wilson, California. Rose Werku, California. Melanie Krausen, Florida. Karen Hawk, Florida. John Paul Chavez, Rhode Island. Sean Walter Christie, Florida.
Mikla Ann Adams, New York. Frederick DaCosta, D.C. Ojwang Lawrence Otiano, Florida. Jasmine Morrison, Virginia. George Pagais, South Carolina. Stephen Knoll, Virginia. Casey Gullick, Virginia. Vincent Stamos, Florida. Timothy Smith, Georgia. Kevin Colvin, West Virginia. Brandon Smith, North Carolina. Jabari Correia, Virginia. Nellie Rios, California. Brian Hellman, Pennsylvania. Demetriak Epps, South Carolina. Thomas Stopsky, West Virginia. Karen Pugh, Georgia.
School of Security and Global Studies. Lavina Nicole Pugh, New Jersey. Trinity Drummond, Maryland. Ashley Karapczynski, Maryland. Albert Mormoni Barura, Texas. Sharita Span, Virginia. Devin Ott, Pennsylvania. Crystal Marie Nimchinsky, Iowa. Calvin Hudson, Alabama. Rodney Baines, Georgia. Chastity Wright, Georgia. William Mark, Maryland. Anthony Macias, Texas. Jason Wisnett, Florida. Lorenzo Brian Meekins, North Carolina. David Q. Billingsley, Tennessee. Dahlia Corridor, Illinois. Richard E. Olson, Texas. Natasha McNeil, North Carolina. Tracy Savage, Virginia. Nathan Betters, Minnesota. Jamie Valentino, New York. Leanne Armstrong, Pennsylvania. Sophia Aponta, Florida. Ariana Armada, Florida. Christopher J. Newell, Texas. Lakeisha French, Georgia. Mitch Thompson, Texas. Tori Thompson, Texas. Jonathan McKnight, Louisiana. Robert D. Hudson Sr., Indiana. Jason Peterson, California. Staff Sergeant Nicholas Cruz Carmona, Texas. Kevin Medeiros, Florida. Jessica Anderton, Utah. Sean Thomas Michael Quish, Virginia. Kevin Garber, Maryland. Andres Garcia Nunez, Texas. Brittany Flores, California. Robert Ferguson, Pennsylvania. Travis Prinzing, Oregon. Samuel Aaron Rodriguez, Texas. Wakar Ahmad, Georgia. Brandon Borden, Texas. Clifford Gill, Ohio. Megan Ann Newsom, New Jersey. Adam D. Johnson, Missouri. Jonathan James Carter, Florida. Joshua Powers, Maryland. Garrett Jones, Florida. Betik Lucas Ibini, Maryland. Andante T. Williams, Michigan. Kayla Holin, Ohio. Kendall Batdorf, California. Essence Wheeler, Texas. Ryan Shauna Bramblett, Florida. Estrella H. Callwood, Florida. Devan Brown, Florida. Karen R. Outland, Virginia. Rodney G. Herring, California. Roger Raymond Schwalm, Georgia. Regulo Guzman, Jr., Washington. Erlin Wentward, Georgia. Jared Jones, Florida. Timothy Trope, Illinois. Michael Peter Saturnino, California. Erica Danielle Nelson McEachin, Maryland. Andre M. Frazier, Pennsylvania. Tyler Kittle, Virginia.
Tana Maiden, Washington.
Jason Doyle, Missouri. Matthew James McGuire, Vermont. Daniel Santos, Connecticut. Ken Stackhouse, New Jersey. Roxanne Ezell Richardson, Pennsylvania. Richard Harrison Childs, Kentucky. Margaret Gray, North Carolina. Jenna Imes, Pennsylvania. Zachary Crossan, Washington. Luke Lawson, Ohio.
E.J. Snowden, Maryland.
Stephen Sikala, New Jersey. Mark Metzger, Massachusetts. Jessica Wheelahan, New Hampshire. Karen Sue Johnson, New Hampshire. Renaud Dewey Scott II, District of Columbia. James Flowers, Georgia. Michael C. Simon, Florida. Jason Dean, Kansas. Brad Kavetsky, South Carolina. William Robert Helms, South Carolina. Alexander Javidi, North Carolina. Jason Foreman, Virginia. Wayne Smith, Maine. Rael K. Holliday, North Carolina. Ryan Forrest, Michigan. Billy Sherrard Goldston, Arkansas. Tanisha Onfroy, New York. Drew Stokes, Florida. Morris Dale, Virginia. John Paul Keel, New Mexico. Jack Plumley, Maryland. Toinette Barrett, Virginia. Tia Antoinette Jordan, Florida. Paulin Bryce N. Dongmeza, New Jersey. Sonia James Raju, New York. Charles Bonovich, Maryland. John Macropotis, Pennsylvania. Quentin Martez Rogers, Maryland. Gabriella McFerrin, Virginia. Thomas Johnson, Michigan. Angela Mason, Texas. Edna Sado, California. Brian Cowan II, Virginia. Anthony Tatashore, Florida. Karen Aiello, Virginia. Nicholas Stidham, Ohio. William J. O'Neill IV, North Carolina. Technical Sergeant Crosby, Arizona. Daniel Edmund Matthews, West Virginia. Victor Dinarte, Virginia. Joseph Breyer, California. Douglas Wang, Pennsylvania. Margaret Vieira, Pennsylvania. Nathan Perez, Alabama. Virginia Wilkins, Utah. Ryan David Irwin, New York. Brian Traylor, Alabama. Virginia Wilkins, Utah. Timothy Franklin Hunt III, Florida. Nicholas Alvut, Florida. Nicole Marie Keller, North Carolina. Keith Reed, Virginia. Anthony Ryan Howard, Pennsylvania. Shanika L. Thomas, South Carolina. Catherine Rogers, Virginia. Mariah Michelle Miller Gordon, Ohio. Kent A. Brecka, Norway. David Hagedorn, Virginia. Blanca Lopez, California. Jason Bird, Virginia. Jeremy Ray Arce, Pennsylvania. Derek Adrian Melendez, Pennsylvania. Marcos Reillo, Puerto Rico. Jose Roberto Ortiz Santiago, Puerto Rico. Cheyenne Van Quakebeck, Illinois. Cassidy Woodside, Texas. Alberto Thomas Moran, Massachusetts. Sandy Lovett Alexander, Pennsylvania. Jordan Hanashewitz, Montana. Miranda Lucille Welty Heil, Virginia. Corinna Grimes, Maryland. Jimena Duarte, Texas. Ola Ahmed, Virginia. Adam Ilnicki, West Virginia. Garrett Munier, California. Jabbar Amini, Virginia. Brian Burrows, Wyoming. Timothy Whiteman, Minnesota. Abel Thompson, Pennsylvania. Jamila Davis, Georgia. Vontasia Chantal, Virginia. Ruben Alejandro Castellano, Pennsylvania. Emily Cartier, Virginia. Melissa Ann Guzman, Texas. Ashley Thomas, Ohio. Brittany Whaley, Arizona. Craig Andrew Romanovich, Pennsylvania. Taylor Marie Lichardi, Massachusetts. Chris Johnson, Louisiana. Austin Bowden Waddell, Texas. Takina Gibson, District of Columbia. Sarah Daly, Indiana. Dahlia Al-Nabani, Florida. Abdul Karim Hassan, California. Philip McPhail, Florida. Joshua R. Frazier Sr., Maryland. Talia Renee Maxfield, Maryland. Deblin B. Edge, Maryland. Antonio Marigliano, Virginia. Jennifer Hardin, Texas. Louise J. Binford Smith, Indiana. Luca Galazzi, Italy.
Staff Sergeant Jonathan Jairo Sagara, Pennsylvania.
Beth Marie Hatchell, Virginia. James Jasper Shiflett, Virginia. Jeffrey Wayne Davis, Jr., South Carolina. Jonathan Trotman, Florida. Manuel Aguinaga, Illinois. Sheldon Von Watts, Jr., Hawaii. Cheyenne Shikani, Arizona. Sadalion James, Florida. Milady Rivera, Virginia.
Tariq Sabah Alomamali, Virginia. Ambry Evans, Georgia. Tremel Gibson, Mississippi. Anthony Tobar, New York. Michael Harvey, New York. Clyde Hall II, Florida. Michael Lee Townsend, Jr., North Carolina. Michael Wagner, Michigan. Michael Williams, Maryland. Colton Linville, Kentucky. Cynthia LaRue, Alaska. Andrea Mersan, Georgia. Yevhenyi Andreyko, Virginia. Damon Wayne Walker, Maryland. Jamanice Yvonne Walker, Virginia. Ariel Middleton, Florida. Donald Sheldon, District of Columbia. David Callis, Maryland. Kevin Marshall, California. Richard Vito II, Florida. Lydia Williams, New York. Carla Haywood, New York. Pauline Collins, Wisconsin. Jenny Valdez, Connecticut. Nathan Perez, Alabama.
Anthony Vincent Baltimore, Georgia.
Bachelor's candidates, please rise. President Boston, these candidates have fulfilled all requirements for their respective bachelor's degrees, and it is with great pleasure that I present them to you.
Thank you, Provost Smith. Upon the recommendation of the faculty and Board of Trustees, I confer upon each of you the bachelor's degree with all of the privileges and responsibilities thereunto.
You may be seated. Associate degree candidates, please rise. President Boston, these candidates have fulfilled all requirements for their respective associate degrees, and it is with great pleasure that I present them to you.
Thank you, Provost Smith. Upon the recommendation of the faculty and the Board of Trustees, I confer upon each of you the associate's degree with all of the privileges and responsibilities thereunto. All graduates, please rise. As an outward and long-time tradition symbol of your achievement, you may now change your tassels from the right side of your cap to the left side. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a big round of applause for our graduates.
You may be seated. The American Public University System's Board of Trustees, directors, faculty, and staff extend our congratulations to you, our graduates, and now our alumni, on the achievement of your educational goals. We have been privileged to support you in your endeavors, and we wish you only the best in the future. There are many wonderful opportunities to stay engaged, and we want you to stay in touch through many opportunities, including social media, peer mentoring, alumni community, and I want you to consider a master's degree. No matter how far or long you go in life and all the accomplishments that you will achieve, we will always be here for you. To our families, parents, friends of our graduates, thank you for the support you have given them and for being present at this ceremony. We hope you've enjoyed your commencement. Guests, please remain in your seats until the platform party, faculty, and graduates have recessed from the ceremonial hall. The side exit doors will remain closed until the recessional has exited the hall. It's official. Our commencement ceremony has concluded. Have a wonderful afternoon and congratulations.